Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Kernels of Truth, brought to you by Progress Kentucky. We have a fine episode for you this week. We're going to be revisiting the terrible tornado tragedies that hit Western Kentucky last week. Going to be looking at the best and the worst of humanity that showed up in the Twisters' 230-mile-long track. Doug Price is going to bring us a few bills that have been pre-filed in Frankfurt for the upcoming General Assembly. Not any good ones, unfortunately. I think a lot of bad bills piled up, queued up, ready to go. Then we're going to welcome Carrie Ray with the Mountain Association to talk about how federal infrastructure programs could help communities struggling with high energy bills. We're going to then close with our call to action and events calendar. So that's a show. You should spend some time with us. I'm going to try to get it done in under an hour. Should be a fun time this week with Progress Kentucky. So thanks so much for tuning in and joining the fight to turn Kentucky purple. You are joining the fight to turn Kentucky purple, right? Because we have got some work to do if we're going to beat back the red wave of bad politics and policy from the GOP supermajority in Frankfurt, from efforts to gerrymander Democrats out of existence to ending all abortion access in our Commonwealth. We need help to stand effectively against the GOP supermajority. If you want a Commonwealth that works for all of us, please join Progress Kentucky. You can do it in a few different ways. You can send us money. That's cool. We've got a secure ActBlue account you can make a donation to. You can also just join the social media army. Help us, kind of juice the algorithm every time you see our stuff. Share it, like it, comment on it. Unfortunately, Facebook is now the de facto public square, and so we're there. And that's because that's where people are. But we're also on Twitter. We're also on Instagram. Wherever you spend time on social media, we're there. Just go ahead and share out our stuff. But let's go ahead and get into the show. Check in with our amazing co-hosts. We're going to let you know who we are, where we are, and what our protest sign says today. Because, of course, what are we? Are we just some, talking head news show? No, we're not that. We are a digital demonstration for a better Kentucky. So if you're going to come to a demonstration, you should bring a sign. So let us know what your sign says today. So I'm Aaron. I'm coming to you from Childsburg, a community just inside the growth boundary of Lexington. And my sign says, "Listen to the miners' mansion." And if you don't get what that reference is, we'll probably share some stuff out on Facebook. Anyway, let's move on to my friend and yours, Doug Price.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Doug Price from Harrison County, Kentucky, the Kentucky home of 3M and the only place in the world where Post-it notes are made along with a number of other 3M products. My protest sign says, I'm going to hold it up. I always have a sign. We demand fair maps. Kimberly,
Fair maps. That's a good idea. We should have some fair maps. All right. And I think we've got our friend Kimberly Cecil Jones here back with us this week.
Hi, everybody. And if you see all of this behind me, it's because I'm backing. So excuse the disarray. I'm coming to you live from Louisville, Kentucky. And my sign says, "Build Back Better Bill must pass." That's like a tongue twister, right? Build Back Better Bill must pass.
I like it.
Better Bill must pass.
Hi.
That's like a tongue
Hi.
twister, right?
Sorry, I'm having a little bit of technical difficulties over here. I'm trying to deal with. All right. So the show. How about the show? Let's do the show. Who's into the show? All right. Let's get into some stories. We got news of the week coming at you. The first story we wanted to cover is a kind of collection of stories. So the kind of good news, bad news. I think we're going to start with the bad news because I'd like to end with a little bit of hope. So as we look at what happened in Western Kentucky, the amazing tragedies, the horrible impact of those multiple tornadoes, cluster tornadoes. We did a whole episode on this last week. If you want to kind of get in depth on some of it, what we're now seeing in the wake of that disaster are, folks stepping up and doing good things and doing bad things. The first is the bad. So there are warnings out right now that FEMA is telling folks, check credentials, make sure contractors are legit, make sure that folks you're talking to about FEMA are in fact FEMA. Make sure that the Red Cross folks you were talking to who are offering help with strings attached, make sure they're really legit, right? So be careful. The Red Cross isn't going to ask you for money for their services. FEMA is not going to ask you for money for their services. Just be there are a lot of folks who kind of move in and take advantage of folks who are who aren't doing great in the wake of the disaster. Please do keep your wits about you and check in on that. So that's the first story. And then story number 2 in this roundup, 4 folks from Michigan have been arrested for looting in the wake of the tornadoes. So they drove on down from Michigan, thought they might be able to steal some stuff because nothing's like tacked down anymore, not as many locked doors in the area, but the cops did catch them. They have in fact been arrested, but not just the 4 tweakers from Michigan. Because if you look at the images, Annabelle, I've actually got an image there if you want to pull it up. Sorry if it's not noted in the run of show, but yeah, there we are. Not good looking folks, those 2 guys. Number 1 warning sign is there a big neck tattoo? Yeah, so these guys were arrested for theft. They're also arrested for possession of methamphetamines, and one of the guys is a felon with a gun. So another law that was broken there. So Michigan not sending their best. I'm sure Michigan is sending a lot of great folks to come and help out, but these are not the best folks. So yeah, and again, these 4, and then I think a number of other folks arrested, 11 folks in total arrested for this type of behavior. Really horrible. But thankfully, lots more examples of folks coming together across our Commonwealth and our country. The UK Wildcats basketball coach John Calipari is partnering with Samaritan's Feet to bring I think 5,000 pairs of shoes at first to folks who've lost everything. New shoes, always well appreciated. And then this amazing image, and I don't know if Annabelle can share it or not, but we have Eastern Kentucky really showing up for Western Kentucky. I think over 40 school buses, Stuff the Bus campaign, where people, the school districts in Eastern Kentucky coordinated bringing different goods that were really necessary for these people who are trying to just live in the wake of this disaster, and just school bus after school bus after school bus on the road to Western Kentucky, just filled to the brim with donations. Really fantastic. I think we've got a link in the comments so you can take a look at it if we can't find the way to show it, but it's really an impressive just outpouring of support. And I think volunteer stuff is really important for sure, right? Like the volunteerism is wonderful, but the federal government is stepping up as well. Kentucky's going to receive news today. Kentucky will receive $8 million for tornado employment relief. So the U.S. Department of Labor is going to send $8.3 million to Kentucky to support disaster relief employment in the wake of that tornado. So, it's the first increment of up to $25 million to assist workers who have been dislocated by the wreckage of these storms. These dislocated worker grants are available in the 8 counties where FEMA has declared a disaster emergency. That's Caldwell, Fulton, Graves, Hopkins, Marshall, Muhlenberg, Taylor, and Warren County. These are folks anyone who was temporarily or permanently laid off as a result of the disaster. Long-term unemployed workers as defined by the state, self-employed individuals who became unemployed or underemployed because of the disaster. So really, I think good to see the federal government step up. And I was thinking about that because we covered this in depth last week, but of course, Rand Paul, who has famously voted against every disaster expenditure at the federal government level because of his nuanced and principled position. Like if we don't cut spending, we shouldn't increase spending. And of course, that's not how disaster bills work. You don't have to have a pay for somewhere. So he votes against disaster bills. He, of course, has shut up about that in the wake of this disaster. He wants the money, bring the federal government money. But I did see today earlier that, Kentucky is a poor state. Let's just be honest with ourselves. We're a poor state. We're a scrappy state. We're a great state on a lot of levels. But we're in the vernacular of the right wing, right? The makers and the takers. We're a taker state. Every resident of Kentucky receives about $14,000 more in federal support than we pay in federal taxes. So we are basically being bolstered by big, rich, blue states. So again, these things like this $8.3 million that's coming to us, it's not probably from Kentucky taxpayers. It's from New York and California taxpayers who pay into this larger, pay in more than they get. And so I think it's just really important to think through as we are, considering how important federal programs can be. We'll talk about that later, I think, with our guest, Carrie Ray. We talk about some of the federal programs can help some of our communities. But really good to see the federal government stepping up. Really good to see, Samaritan's Feet helping to bring shoes. Really wonderful to see those teachers and school districts from Eastern Kentucky showing up for Western Kentucky. And I see some hope here for sure. I don't know about y'all. What do you think? Doug, you have hope as you survey this, or are you a little bit more cynical?
Oh, I definitely have hope. It's amazing the amount of people who have come forward, not from just Kentucky, Eastern Kentucky or Western Kentucky, and not just the United States. We have people who are concerned about what is going on, the tornado, the effects of that, and it's going to be a long time before things are back to normal. But I believe that the people of Kentucky are up to the challenge, and that Maysville and Dawson Springs and Barnsley and Bremen they'll be rebuilt.
And of course, Doug, you grew up, or you're from one of those hard-hit communities, right?
Yes, my wife and I both grew up in Hopkins County, and I grew up in Arlington, which was not really hit by the tornado, but my wife grew up in Barnsley, and several houses were destroyed there. Her family home was not destroyed. It had some damage, but others right around it were destroyed. It's just horrible to look at.
Yeah, I got to imagine. And of course, last week we had Barry Craig, who was from Mayfield, talking about his impressions of it, the storm. So, and then we showed actually some of Barry's images, I think, earlier as we were talking about the disaster. So, thanks again to Barry Craig for sharing those images. Kimberly, what's your take? Are you hopeful? Are you, as you look at this disaster and the response, you think we can come back from this?
I believe underneath the leadership of Governor Andy Beshear, we will be able to come back from just about anything. He's like Superman, right? But I'm hopeful, sorta.
So I mean, these storms are hitting communities, and I made this point last week. These storms are hitting communities that were not necessarily secure, right? So if we think back to the census and what was kind of happening, the census has shown very clearly that these rural communities are shrinking, these small towns are shrinking, and the larger metropolitan areas are growing, and the suburbs and exurbs. That's where the growth is in this state, and it's not overall, a more amazing amount of growth, but people are moving from those communities. So the fact that they were just walloped by these storms makes it incredibly challenging to rebuild when maybe you already had kind of 1 foot out the community, right? Because of the job opportunities, because whatever, so I'm hopeful. And, Kimberly, you're right. I would never bet against Andy Beshear. Like, that guy is hope, but he's also smart, and he also knows how to get government working for the people. So, yeah, but I do think that it's hitting communities that were not strong to begin with. And we're in a kind of a tough spot kind of demographically. So it really is certainly, I think, I am hopeful, but I just, you got to do it with an eye towards the realistic situations of what we're dealing with on the ground there. So, I hope everyone who wants to come back and rebuild has the resources to do it. And I think that, the fundraising that's been done has been really impressive. The kind of immediate needs that have been, met by donations and programs have been, I think, impressive. I also know, firsthand that it's really challenging to kind of maneuver through that stuff. So when I was living in New Orleans, and Hurricane Katrina hit, FEMA it's good at doing some things. It's not good at everything. I think it's better now than it was then, but it is a federal bureaucracy you have to kind of deal with. So it's not just, your Uncle Joe coming by and giving you a big check, right? It's a bit of a challenge. So my heart goes out to everyone who's dealing with it. Timing's horrible. It's not how you want to spend the holidays, but very, very much hopeful that we will move forward and that we'll have, positive outcomes overall. And again, the outpouring of support is absolutely hopeful. So, all right, let's move on to story number 2, which is Doug's take on what fresh hell awaits us in Frankfurt with these pre-filed bills.
Thank you, Aaron. Tonight I'm going to talk about the upcoming Kentucky Legislature General Session. The bad thing about this session is it's what they call the long session. It'll start the first week of January and will continue through almost the month of March. I'm going to highlight some of the pre-filed bills, but first I want to talk about the one that has not been filed yet. We've talked about this before, but it's a redistricting bill. Odds are this is the first bill that will be heard and will be fast-tracked through the legislature and passed, then sent to the governor for him to either sign into law, or another choice he can allow the bill to become law without his signature, or more probable, be vetoed. After the veto, the Republican-controlled General Assembly will overturn the veto and the Republican redistricting plan will become law. I really hope I'm wrong about this, but I believe the bill that the Republicans pass is not going to be fair and balanced. I think it's going to benefit the Republicans as opposed to being something that should be fair for everybody. But the good thing about it, if that does happen, it will be followed by a legal challenge. So I would say everybody stay tuned. If you're interested in previewing the pre-filed bills, then you can go to the following website, legislature.ky.gov. I'm going to highlight 3 bills that have been filed. The first one has been assigned number 60. There's several representatives there. I think they're all Republican. I'll mention a couple of names you may have heard of. My legislator, Mark Hart, Kim King, Savannah Maddox, Felicia Rayborn. Those are some of them that are on this bill and a couple of the other bills I want to talk about. This bill is an effort to make sure that public schools in Kentucky do not teach critical race theory. Those words are not used in the bill, but here's a description of the bill. The bill would prohibit public K-12 schools from offering any curriculum or classroom discussions about designated concepts related to race, sex, and religion. This is an attempt by the Republican-controlled legislature to dictate what is taught in public schools. I guess the question is, should we be watching for the movie Children of the Handmaids? The second bill request number 65. Currently, schools can require parents to furnish proof of vaccinations. This bill would not allow any school, any business, or governmental unit to require a vaccine passport. This proposed bill definition of vaccine passport means documentation that an individual has been vaccinated against SARS-CoV-2. And the kicker of this bill, the bill would allow the Cabinet for Health and Family Services to impose a fine not to exceed $5,000 per violation of this act. So an agency that is supposed to promote health and family services will be put in the position of fining any entity, school, business, whatever, that chooses to require proof of vaccination. Bill request number 69. Several of the same representatives are signed on to this one, including my representative, Kim King, Felicia Rayborn, and Savannah Maddox, I think, is probably on this one too. And this is another bill aimed at critical race theory, which is not taught in public schools and is really another, what I would call, a boogeyman bill. Here is a definition of the boogeyman: a mythical creature used by adults to frighten children into good behavior. CRT is a subject taught in upper-level law school classes. CRT is a way of studying systemic racism and its impact on society, and how systemic racism permeates many aspects of society today. It also looks back at racial implications at the creation of a law and how it is addressed currently and why it is studied at the graduate level. I have a comment here from Rob Clayton, who's the board chair of the Warren County Schools. This bill in Frankfort deals with really censoring what can or cannot be shared in the classroom. This is not something that I, as a superintendent, am supportive of. Again, provided that the discussion is developmentally appropriate and does fit within not only the scope of the curriculum, but also some of the social, emotional needs of our students. Western Kentucky University professor Dr. Sandra Ardrey agreed with Clayton and said that many people have misinformed opinions about CRT. They don't understand the theory and what it means. It has been used as a political football to cause division or to continue divisions. And all this theory is saying, let us at least recognize and study that gender may have an impact, race may have an impact. You may conclude that it does not, but how do you know for sure if we are not talking about it? What are you afraid of? This is a bill that works to rile up the Republican base in Kentucky and create an issue where there really is no current problem. I have highlighted 3 bills to watch. There are over 170 bills that have been pre-filed, and before the 2022 general session is over on March 14th, there will be hundreds of bills filed. Progress Kentucky will track these bills and keep you informed. So stay tuned to the Kernels of Truth as we bring the truth to you. We are your progressive voice.
All right. Yeah, so those are some bad bills for sure. The whole critical race theory thing, it's like you're right, Doug, right? It's this law school concept that's not actually ever taught in school, but it's code words. It's how, you kind of rile up your base, give them something new to be afraid of. And I mean, yeah, like the idea that we've got lawmakers getting in the way of teachers so that they can't teach an honest reflection of our history as a nation is just, it's astounding. It's frightening because we know that they have, the Republicans have, as we've said before, a super duper majority in both chambers. So, if we don't start sending smart, thoughtful folks back to Frankfort, the Savannah Maddoxes are going to carry the day, and these outrageous bills are going to just pass and be overwhelmed by, even if the governor vetoes them, which, I think he will veto a lot of those types of bills, but they'll just be able to overcome them. So it's really, I think, frightening that stuff could become, carry the force of law in the state of Kentucky, and we might have our teachers our teachers are going through so much right now, right? Trying to, deal with this pandemic, trying to deal with the students that have gone through the pandemic. They don't have the resources they need. And then we're going to, handcuff them and not let them teach, the true history of the United States of America. That is just, I think, I guess if your goal is to make sure that we, get rid of all good teachers, then this bill would be one more helpful step, right? For that. If you want just to make sure that, the folks who are the best and the brightest and want to help create the best and the brightest for our Commonwealth are kicked out the door, here's one more step you could take, I suppose. I don't know. Kimberly, what do you think?
I think that it's well overdue to have CRT in the schools. And I do understand that there is a lot of misinformation out here according to what actually it is. But we have to look at it. We have to tell history. We have to tell history correctly. It cannot be biased to one side or another. All of our cultures are so colorful and plenty, and it needs to be represented. And when I think about this, I'm thinking about when I grew up and in school, there was so many things that was not afforded the information or knowledge. I mean, we learned about Martin Luther King, but that was like the extent of it. Maybe Harriet Tubman, maybe W.E.B. Du Bois, something of that nature. But, we really didn't learn about our culture. I can say that with all honesty and respect. We would have to get that information elsewhere from our families, the library, historians, and some people don't learn about anything until they go to college. So you asked me earlier if I was hopeful. I do not believe this will pass in the state of Kentucky.
All right. From your lips to, the Senator Stivers and the representatives who are running the show back there. All right. Let's move on. I think what we're going to be doing very soon is talking with our guest, but that was that? Nope, that's not News of the Week. We have wait, sorry. Aaron got a little bit lost in the run of show. We are going to now move to news under 5, maybe minutes. We're gonna do a quick timer and see how many stories Kimberly's gonna get through in under 5 minutes. I see that she has some important ones queued up, but Doug, you got your timer set?
Wait a minute, don't
Yes.
set the timer just yet. I really want to tell all of our listeners and viewers that I am so sorry, but there are boxes and everything everywhere. And I don't want you all to see that. Although I look beautiful, I had on my Chanel dress just for you guys. Okay, you can start me right now. Start me. First story is up. According to Wallet Hub, Louisville checks in as the 114th neediest city in the U.S. Lexington is 144th. This study used 182 cities for this study and also found out that 11.4% of the U.S. population were living in poverty in 2020, and 38 million people found themselves experiencing food shortages. Stacker also compiled a list of U.S. states that Kentuckians are moving to. They're saying there is this thing called a mass exodus of people leaving the state of Kentucky. So I was interested to know, where are they going? Well, the first place they're going, number 1 would be Ohio, number 2, Indiana, number 3, Tennessee, number 4, Florida, and number 5, Texas. Something that everybody would really love, especially if you're still working, you have that career going on. This is something you're gonna love. Employer-based child care match is available for Kentucky businesses in 2022. Employers will have an opportunity to access up to $100,000 in matching state funds to open employer-based childcare sites. Many organizations such as Metro United Way, Kentucky Division of Child Care, and many more have joined in the conversation to help employers attract and retain workforce. Also, a bit of sad news, so to speak. A special election date has been set by Governor Beshear to fill the seat of longtime Kentucky Representative Reginald Meeks. Meeks was the 42nd District's representative for over 20 years, and Meeks said that he wanted to spend more time on his health and family. He was one of 4 Black lawmakers in the Kentucky House. His legacy will live, and he used to be a co-host on the Jones Report. I've been knowing Reggie since I was about 14 years old, and he was in Louisville running for alderman, which they now call council people. So that's the news in under 5.
That felt like under 5 to me. What was that, Doug? What was the time? You're muted. Whoa, that was the shortest yet. 2:24. You.
Okay.
That's amazing.
Well, we
Yeah.
got a couple of minutes for some thoughts about, what I talked about.
Yeah, let's do it. What you mentioned Reginald Meeks. He's somebody you've worked with. You've known him. He was a co-host on your show. What he's taking time to spend time with his health and his family. Is that what he's doing?
Well, he had some issues with his shoulder, and he had surgery for that. But he's been actually in lawmaking as a legislator with the alderman, moving to state representative for over 40 years now. So, and plus I know who he may be seeing. So he might want to spend a little extra time now just to enjoy life. And he is a avid hunter and things of this nature. He loves the outdoor, and he's really like an uncle to me. He's been so close to the family. So we're sad to see him go, but I'm pretty sure that the 42nd district will be selecting someone that can carry that torch.
I'm sure. Yeah, safe seat for sure, right? I'll just say it. Like I cannot imagine. Like we were losing Kelly Flood. She's from this area. She's kind of retiring, not seeking re-election. Like I cannot imagine it's a lot of fun to be a progressive lawmaker in Frankfurt, right? Like staring in the face of these like super duper majorities of reactionary, super conservatives. Like who wants that job? Like it really does seem like an unsatisfying way to spend some time. But I shouldn't say that. Because maybe you're thinking about running for an office, and you should do it because we need better people back there. But just know that I think we've had Sherilyn Stevens on before. Like, she does a really good job of like finding Republicans to work with. Like, hey, just take my bill if you like it. Put your name on it, because I know if you put a Democrat's name on it, it's not going to get a hearing ever. Even if it's very sensible, common sense legislation, right? So, you have to have the right approach, I think, to be effective back there. But I no matter what your approach is, it's got to be frustrating. That front row seat to the circus is, it gets old after a while.
I do want to say this. If anybody lives in the 42nd district, that they can do the application, and it's going to be very, very quick, even though the governor has selected February the 22nd of 2022. However, the executive committee, the voting executive committee of LDs and at large in Jefferson County, and the vice president of the 42nd district will be able to vote on this special election, which I'll get to vote. So we've already got some people I see that want to come aboard and have the seat that Reginald Meeks had. So if anybody is interested in that, the press releases and everything went out, but I believe that you have to have your application in by Sunday. So they might want to go to the website of LouisvilleDems.com.
Check it out. Go run for something. Run for this seat. That's probably not as bad as I make it out to be. All right, Doug, anything you want to say?
I just think that after the show, our producer Annabelle and myself and Aaron, we need to get together. And that was a great job by Kimberly in 2.5 minutes. But she's been over so many times. I've been keeping track of that. So we need we can give her those 2.5 minutes, but we'll see where she is after we meet.
Oh yeah, like a running total. We're gonna like go
yeah,
do some.
Right.
I did not start the show to do math. Just to be clear, there will be no math done in this show.
Dougie Fresh.
Under the bus. Right under the bus. That is rough. All right, so we're gonna move on because we're gonna be speaking with Carrie Ray with the Mountain Association. But before we bring her on, I wanted to remind our audience of the 2 ways Progress Kentucky is encouraging folks to help out with Western Kentucky Relief and Recovery. So the governor, of course, has the Team Western Kentucky Tornado Relief Fund. Really important. good way to donate. It's tax deductible. It's secure. 100% goes to helping people in need. We'll share that link in the chat so you can make a donation. And also, I wanted to flag that our partners with the Commonwealth Alliance donor table, the Kentucky Civic Engagement Table, or KSET, and Hood to the Holler have started a mutual aid fund to be directed to the grassroots groups supporting short-term and long-term mutual aid and disaster relief for these communities. They're going to prioritize groups that serve Kentuckians who may otherwise be neglected by relief efforts, particularly Black, Indigenous, people of color, refugee, immigrant, and poor and working class Kentuckians. And of course, if you know anything about Warren County, Bowling Green actually has a really, kind of strong immigrant and refugee community there. And these are folks who, slipped through the cracks. As I mentioned before, I lived in New Orleans through the Katrina disaster. I was an advisor to a similar grassroots focused fund. Really was a critical component of a complete response to community needs, because people do slip through the cracks. Whether that's Red Cross or FEMA, it's important that groups on the ground have the resources to meet the needs. So please do consider making a donation to that Commonwealth Alliance donor table, KSET Hood to the Holler fund as well. So, all right, moving on. So we're very excited to bring on Carrie Ray. Carrie Ray has worked with the Mountain Association's energy program since 2017, coordinating with businesses, governments, and nonprofits across the region to help connect them to both knowledge and opportunities regarding energy efficiency, renewable energy, and utility bills. In addition to coordinating the work of the energy team, Carrie frequently performs utility bill reviews that can save thousands for businesses and nonprofits struggling with high energy bills. Carrie has done a lot of great work in the nonprofit world for a number of years. She's got a master's degree in international public affairs from the University of Wisconsin at Madison. Go Badgers. Lives in Lexington with her husband and 2 boys, and enjoys baking, hiking, reading, and talking too much about energy policy and utility reform. So watch Carrie at holiday parties. You might not want to get cornered and learn. I'm sure that's not true. Thanks so much for joining us. I met Carrie when we were doing some lobbying on rooftop solar, trying to save rooftop solar in Kentucky, which, although we kind of lost the fight for that bill, thankfully the Public Service Commission did the right thing ultimately. The only reason they did the right thing, though, is because Andy Beshear won the governor's race and put good people in at the PUC. Because if it was Matt Bevin's people, I can guarantee you that things would have not gone well for rooftop solar in Kentucky. Elections have.
Oh, yes.
Hi, Carrie.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for joining us. And I thought about having you on because it's not like I'm a creative and original person. I saw a great op-ed that you wrote in the Herald Leader. And I like, oh, wow, this is really important. And it's really, I think, a good issue to cover, which is how you can save people money, and federal programs can help save people money in Eastern Kentucky. But first, tell us a little bit about the Mountain Association and kind of what you guys do.
Sure. So the Mountain Association was formerly known as MASED, or the Mountain Association for Community Economic Development. We shortened our name in August of last year, 2020, about that long ago. So now we're just the Mountain Association. It's a lot easier to say, and people don't think our acronym is MASED, which is not a great look for us, especially these days. But we have been working in Appalachian, Kentucky for over 40 years, building an economy that is community-based, that's more resilient, more sustainable, more diverse, and more equitable. So we're building an economy from the bottom up that works for more people and brings more people together. And we do that through a number of ways. We have, a small business lending program. We're a community development financial institution, or CDFI, which is basically a nonprofit bank. So we have a very robust entrepreneur support program, both through lending and technical assistance, connecting entrepreneurs with consultants who can help them with a business plan, with marketing, websites, financials, etc. We do demonstration programs where we try things out and see if they work. We run an how to Airbnb program right now for folks in Eastern Kentucky who want to, bring in some income by starting, an Airbnb on their property. And then we have our energy program, which is where I work, where we work with small businesses, local governments, nonprofits, and homeowners in certain utility districts, where our goal is to save folks money on their utility bills, whether that's through energy efficiency or renewable energy. Our goal is to lower your bills, save you money, so that you can use that money for better things than your electric bill or your gas bill.
That's awesome. And I'm
trying really hard to be concise because I can go on for a really long time.
Again, don't hang out with her at the Christmas party. You're going to hear a lot about utility bills. No, utility bills are critical, right? It's like one of the most, one of the biggest expenses, each and every month. That kind of second rent or second mortgage, and how important it can be to like cut. And some great examples, I think, of your work of finding ways to save money for nonprofits, for businesses. I think that stuff's, just the bill itself, let alone, the efficiency program or the renewable energy program. It just seems like there are ways that people are just paying too much because of, I don't know, what the utility is doing, which is, it's not in the utility's best interest to save you money, but there are rules and regulations and things that you can kind of, make sure you're taking advantage of. Right. So tell me a little bit about what that work looks like.
So the first thing we do when folks contact us saying that they, are interested in our program is this billing review, where we look at 12 months of utility bills, electric. And if you've got gas, we'll look at your gas bills. And we want to see how you're using energy. We want to see, your rate class, make sure you're on the right rate class, because oftentimes utilities will tell you if you're not paying enough, but they often will not tell you if you could be saving by being on a different rate class. A lot of times we find.
I'm going to stop you right there. I'm going to stop you right there, Carrie, because I have no earthly idea what a rate class is. So please tell me what that is and why it matters.
So a rate class is it's the class of customer you are, or if you're a resident, if you're a homeowner, you pay your residential rate class, which is you're going to pay a flat base fee. And you're going to pay, which is like the same fee every month. It's like, $15. It's different for every utility. And you're going to pay your kilowatt hour usage charge, which is like that 10 cents or 12 cents a kilowatt hour that you pay. And then there's, depending on where you live, if you're in Eastern Kentucky, you're going to pay like, a whole bunch of surcharges and fees if you're on Kentucky Power. But there's always an environmental surcharge, which is the cost that the utilities pay to comply with environmental regulations. And you're going to pay a small, like $1 or 50 cents, again, depending on the utility, for your it's like a home energy assistance program. So it goes into a pot of funds to help folks who have trouble paying their utility bills. And there's a fuel adjustment charge, which is where, utilities, when they set their rates, they estimate what they think the fuel is going to cost. And then it gets, changed up or down, credit or debit on the bill, based on what the actual cost of the fuel is. If you're a commercial customer, you pay both all of these things, plus something called a demand charge, which is the rate at which you use energy. And it's not and again, depending on who your electric provider is, you may or may not pay a demand charge. If you're an industrial customer, you're going to, again, pay these things, but there's, a lot of times industrial customers pay a smaller kilowatt hour charge, but a bigger demand fee. It's, there's a lot going on with it. But
these are all different rates. These are all different kind of like classes of rates, and you could be characterized inappropriately into like, the different class, and so you're paying way too much or something like. Is that how that works? I'm sorry.
Yeah. So a lot of times, for what we see a lot is there's a commercial customer. A lot of places will have a small commercial rate and then a larger commercial rate. So you'll give a commercial customer, when they started their utility service, they were using a lot of energy. Then they've reduced their energy through some efficiency. And they should be on the smaller rate now because they are using less energy, but they haven't been moved down to that. And so
Gotcha.
when we look at that, we say, hey, you need to be, call your utility. You should be on a lower rate class, and boom, you're saving $700 a year now, and you haven't paid a penny. So those are the kinds of things we look for. We look for sales tax as a thing, a big thing, and which can be a big chunk of change if you are in a place that if you're with a Kentucky Power or KU, will give you a refund of your sales tax up to 3 years. So that can be several $1,000s credit on your utility bill, plus the money you're saving going forward. So there's some money to be found oftentimes in utility billing reviews. And It's always fun to tell people that they've saved money without doing anything at all, without paying a penny.
Christmas comes early, right? And we had Adam Edlin on the show a while back, and we talked about some of his big solar projects that are happening. Some of them are in Eastern Kentucky. I think we just saw notice of one that's happening with state support on a reclaimed coal mine site. It's really awesome stuff that's happening in Eastern Kentucky. I think you guys maybe do smaller scale stuff where you actually work with the folks who just on their business. Tell us a little bit about how solar can help people save money on their rates.
So we do. We have actually been working with that project in Martin County a little bit as well. But most of the time we're working with much smaller customers. These are folks who they come to us and they say, look, our bills are too high. What can we do? And one of the things, if it makes sense, we suggest solar is a way to reduce your utility bills in the long term, because it stabilizes. Rates keep going up every 2 years. KU and Kentucky Power are putting in for rate increases. And so if you can reduce the amount of electricity you're using through solar, then you're being protected. It's like a hedge against these rate increases. And one of the things, we've got folks who are seeing solar as a way to keep their doors open. There are nonprofits that we're working with whose utility bills are crippling them, and it's putting solar on their roof is lowering their bills enough that now they can they're seeing a path forward for their nonprofit, for example. And it's just efficiency is cheaper. We always say start with efficiency. Put those LED lights in. Put those programmable thermostats in. But solar can be. It can be thought. It's just like efficiency in that it reduces your bill over time. In the long term, the less money you're spending on electricity, the more money you have in your pocket for other things.
Yep. It's so important. Like the most affordable kilowatt is the one you don't use, right? So
Exactly.
Absolutely looking to reduce that. And did you guys, this is a story I've heard. Did you work with, is it the Coal Museum? Was that you? Because I hear that the Coal Museum actually has solar panels on it.
They do. And we were, I think, tangentially, this was before my time, tangentially connected to that. My colleague, Josh Bills, is I don't think there's a solar project in the state that he hasn't been part of at some point or another. And I think he was, helped out a little bit with some, advice on that one. But yeah, the Coal Museum in Harlan does have solar on it. And there are so Letcher County has so many solar projects, like just on rooftops, small businesses and nonprofits in Letcher County and far southeast Kentucky, the heart of the coal fields. And we, have helped so many folks down there put solar on. So anyone, for example, investor in utilities who are trying to say that solar is just for rich people in Lexington and Louisville and Northern Kentucky clearly has never been to Eastern Kentucky to see what solar is doing in that region.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of irony there, and I think it's highly appropriate that you guys are there helping, because this is coal communities that have been largely abandoned, left behind. There was not sustainable economic models for those communities, and once coal stopped being profitable, folks were just left behind. So I'm glad you guys are there. I'm glad you're working with communities. Tell us a little about some of the federal programs that my last question for you. Tell us about some of the federal programs that are either kind of in the pipeline or are currently being programmed. Because I know there was the American Rescue Plan dollars that kind of came out, kind of helping communities that are dealing with COVID. That was, of course, the Rescue Plan was Joe Biden's first legislative accomplishment. Did not get a single Republican in Kentucky to support that. It was all Democrats that passed it. Just reminding everyone, no matter who shows up at the ribbon cutting, Andy Barr, we know you voted against the bill. And I know that you guys are, I'm sure, nonpartisan. These are my words, not yours, Carrie. But really important to underscore that those monies are flowing, right? And things are happening. We've also got the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, which is now the bipartisan infrastructure law. That's where we did have some Republican support. Mitch McConnell voted for it. I'll give him credit for that. That's about it. I don't know that other folks actually did. I don't think the rest of our delegation voted for it. But socialist roads and bridges. But what do those programs look like? How are they helping folks, and how will they help folks in Eastern Kentucky?
So there's still a lot of question marks about how the money is going to make it from the federal government down to the communities. But for example, in the American Rescue Plan Act, there is money for local governments that is basically just to backfill their coffers, for lost revenue. And that is money that could be used for these efficiency projects, for solar projects, for projects that, will lower overhead. So that's one very clear way that local governments can take advantage of some of these funds. There's in the infrastructure bill, there is money earmarked for efficiency in schools. There's money for battery storage projects, for renewable energy projects. Again, how exactly that's going to make it down to us remains to be seen. But the interagency working group on coal communities is working hard to, I think, help folks navigate all of these questions about, there's workforce development programs. There's, there's a lot of opportunity here. And it's an interesting position to be in that it used to be like, our question was, how are we going to be able to pay for this? And now the question is, how are we going to take advantage of all of this federal support? It's a nice sea change. And I know that the state Office of Energy Policy is working on ways to help communities access this fund in a way that makes sense and isn't overly burdensome. And I think that they've been a great partner. We were working with them on some of this energy efficiency for local governments and nonprofits in the region. And they have said that that's something that they know that this is confusing. There's a lot of red tape with the federal government, and they want to make it easy for folks. So when we know more, we will be helping folks get that money as best we can. We've done it before.
Yep. So I think that's a really important role for nonprofits, kind of who've got the bandwidth to kind of work through. So no matter how streamlined it is, it will be cumbersome, and a very strapped group in Eastern Kentucky might not have the time and the energy and whatever. So having the ability to work through that for people is, I think, really, really useful. All right. So I think Doug might have a question. My dog has a question, clearly. but you probably wouldn't understand it. I don't understand it. It's just growling. But Doug, do you have a question that's more understandable?
Sure, Carrie. You may have touched on this a little bit already, but I kind of go, my thought process would be, I'm a homeowner, I come to you guys, and my electric bill is crazy, and of course you're going to analyze it and that kind of thing, but you also look at this house has no or very poor insulation, or there are things that they can do, or maybe you can help them with, and tie that in with the nonprofit bank where they're able to obtain loans to do some winterization, or is that part of the procedure process, I guess?
Well, our organization doesn't work with homeowners, unfortunately, with the exception of folks who are in a few rural electric co-op territories. We have a pilot program called House Smart Kentucky, which is an on-bill financing or pay-as-you-save program, which is awesome. And we wish more utilities were offering this. Google House Smart Kentucky, you'll learn more. But if you were a small business owner and you came to us with those questions, we do after we do the utility bill analysis, we do an on-site energy efficiency audit. So we would come out, we would look at your lights, your HVAC, your insulation, your air sealing, where are the cracks around your windows, and then write a report of recommendations. And we're not contractors. We always say we're not trying to sell people on things, because no one ever believes that we're offering a free service with no strings attached, but we are. So we want to give folks the expert advice that they need to make the right decision for their business or nonprofit, and for their needs and within their budget. So we'll write a list of recommendations saying, if you changed out all your lights to LEDs, it would cost X dollars and it would save you X dollars, and it would pay for itself in 8 months. And then we can connect if folks want to make those upgrades. We can connect them with financing at the Mountain Association, if they're eligible for it. And there's federal grants. We help folks apply for the Rural Energy for America program grant. There's state grants if you're a farm that we help folks apply for. That just changed its name. That's the Kentucky Ag Development Fund's on-farm energy grant. There's community facilities grants. And so, there's rebates. If you're on KU, you can still access energy efficiency rebates. And, so we really just want to give people the information that they need, and then we'll guide them through the process of making those upgrades if they want.
Awesome.
Right. So if you're a homeowner, I'm sorry, that's just not our within our charter.
Nothing for you, Doug. All right, Kimberly, do you have a question for Carrie?
I mean, Miss Carrie Ray is just phenomenal, in my opinion. All the questions I had in my head, she's already answered them. So just thank you for being with us. I've learned a lot tonight, and I just want to say thank you.
You're welcome. I'm sorry. I guess you had a lot of questions about utility bills and what's on your utility bill.
Who doesn't? All right. So, hey, Carrie, any final thing?
Don't look at them. They don't look at their utility bills. It's just something that you pay, and you don't pay attention to it.
As a bit of a utility watchdog, you want to weigh in on Kentucky Utilities' efforts to cut down all our trees in Lexington? Is that something that the Mountain Association?
Lexington is not our service territory, but I live in Lexington, and so it. Well, I will refrain from getting on my soapbox, but the utilities, our investor-owned utilities, don't really have any reason to listen. What can we do? They can cut down all of our trees because we don't have a choice. We can't switch over to another utility. We have to buy our power from Kentucky Utilities.
Yeah, regulated utility. There should be regulation that saves the trees. We need some regulation in there.
Yeah, the trees.
Yeah, if you want to join
as great
me,
as our
Carrie,
PSC is right now, I don't think they have anything to do with the trees,
yeah, I
unfortunately.
know. If you want to join me in my protest, I am putting leaves and branches in my bill when I mail it back to KU, so that they have to deal with in their processing machines. I think it's like, it is it's like saboteurs, right? You're throwing things in the gears. I am throwing pine needles in the gears because I'm so annoyed with those guys. Anyway, thanks for coming in. Anything you'd like to share with our audience? Let us know, like, final words, how they can get involved, how they can support your work.
I mean, if you are in Eastern Kentucky, Appalachian Kentucky, and you are a local government or a small business or a nonprofit, and you want an energy audit, energy efficiency assessment, you can go to mtassociation.org and click on energy and learn more about our program. We would absolutely love to help you.
Awesome.
Give me a chance to get into my spreadsheets. Do your billing review.
All right.
Love my Excel.
Can't keep her away from the utility bill spreadsheets. All right, Carrie, really do appreciate you coming on, especially as I know you're kind of on holiday right now, and appreciate you taking the time to talk with us. I hope you'll come back maybe as these federal programs become a little more clear, how they're helping folks in Eastern Kentucky. I think our audience would really like to hear more about it. But have a great night, have a great holiday. I'm going to throw it to Kimberly to close down the show for us.
Thank you, Aaron. First of all, we are taking a break next week, so don't tune in live. We're not going to be there, but on the Facebook page, you can go and see, previous programs. Maybe you missed one and you want to get caught up. They'll all be on the Facebook page called Progress Kentucky. So you know what we're going to be doing. We're going to all be celebrating the holiday season as the way that Kernels of Truth do. And we'll be back with a new show in January 2022. So we don't have our guests quite pinned down yet, but I will personally guarantee you they will be wonderful. So a little disclaimer right here. Progress Kentucky is a nonprofit organization registered with the Kentucky Secretary of State, organized as a 501c4, is affiliated with the Indivisible Project and the Commonwealth Alliance Voter Engagement, otherwise known as CAVE. Progress Kentucky's goal is to educate, organize, increase voter turnout, and advance a progressive agenda through civic engagement. Some graphic content was provided by Couchfire Media. Couchfire Media ignites multi-camera, live stream, educational, and commercial video production content. For more information, you can go on their website, which is couchfiremedia.com. Production this evening was by our own Miss Annabelle Nagel, and she is our social media chairperson. So thank you so much, Annabelle, during this holiday season for doing this for us and getting Kernels of Truth out to the people. Yay, Annabelle. So also the Jones Report will be coming back in January as well. In the Jones Report, as you well know, is a weekly live national, international, and local talk and conversation show. And we're going to be coming on Sundays, and we're going to be having a contest. So if anybody is interested in sometimes coming on and sit in a guest seat as a actual guest co-host, please go over to the Jones Report radio program page and message us and let us know. And thank you, Nate, for the theme songs. You can find more information and music, and I suggest you go to that website, and it's natosongs.com. That's N-A-T-O songs.com. And if you miss our weekly live stream on Facebook, don't worry. You can rewatch all shows and see our source links on Facebook. Our audio podcasts are available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and what can I say? Anywhere you get your podcast, you're going to you're most definitely are going to find us. So I just want to say Merry Christmas to everyone. Happy Hanukkah to everyone. Happy Kwanzaa to everyone. Happy holidays to everyone. And happy holidays and Merry Christmas to you, Miss Carrie Ray. Wonderful guest tonight. To the greatest host this side of the Mississippi, well, running neck and neck with me, Mr. Aaron Viles, and always my true friend, Mr. Doug Price and Miss Annabelle. You all enjoy this time with your families and just be thankful for what we have, because there are so many people right here in our own state that are not as fortunate as we are. And also, I just want to say, in case my baby girl is watching, as you all know, she made captain in the Air Force, and she was deployed over in Doha, Qatar, or you may call it Qatar. She is home now. I hadn't seen her for over a year, and she is home now in Louisville, Kentucky. So we're going to have a great Christmas this year.